Welcome to Mega Events Inside the Winter Olympics. This online course will take you into the functioning of one of the greatest sporting events in history. This course is designed to help you understand the functioning of the Olympics, how they're organized, how the participants feel about the event, and how cities and host countries manage the Winter Olympics. This course is developed with 3 faculty members at Michigan State University. Myself, Mark Wilson, Eva Cassens-Noor, and Lisa Robinson. The 3 of us have had extensive experience with mega events like World's Fairs, the Olympics, and the World Cup. This experience led us to feel that there was more to be gained than these events than just watching them. That by looking at an event more deeply, by trying to understand what is happening, you get more from the event. It's an appreciation of an event in a way that is often not possible. So our goal is to bring you 5 modules that will show how the Winter Games in Sochi, Russia can be seen and interpreted in a different way. We'll start our modules first by talking about the background of the Olympics and how they are organized and bid. Second, we'll talk about the symbols of the Olympics and the opening ceremonies. Third, we'll discuss the planning of the Sochi Olympics, the layout of the Olympic area, and the functioning of the Sochi Winter Olympics. Third, we'll look at some of the events and some of the issues associated with the events of the Winter Games. And finally, we'll conclude by looking at what's left. What happens when the party's over, people leave town, what happens to the site, what happens to the facilities that were created for the Winter Games. Mega events are increasingly popular and common across the world. At the moment, more than 150 cities are bidding or planning to bid to host a mega event. So what makes a mega event mega? There are a number of elements that should be considered. First, as an event, they're ephemeral. They only last a short while, a couple of weeks, a couple of months at most. Second, they are large-scale events. They involve millions, if not billions, of spectators who are watching and observing an event as it unfolds. They tend to be expensive. Sochi is spending $51 billion to host the 2014 Winter Games. And they tend to draw a large audience and media presence. They're prestigious, high-profile events that draw attention to one place on the planet for a short period and engage many people around the world. Some of the examples of mega events would include the Olympics, the Summer Games, the Winter Olympics, the World Cup to be held in Brazil in 2014, the World's Fair, and religious pilgrimages like the Hajj that entail millions of people meeting in one place to participate in a spiritual event. All of these events are large-scale, significant, often prestigious, very complex, and internationally engaging. When we study mega events, there are a couple of fundamental questions that we will seek to answer in this course. And one is, why do it? Why would you have an event for just a few weeks that involves decades of planning, billions in expenditure? So what is the motivation for holding a mega event? When looking at the event, who pays for the event? Where are the funds coming from? Who is benefiting from the event? Who are the recipients of the benefits? Who gains and who loses in a mega event is also worthy of our analysis. Also important is understanding who controls the event, who decides where and when it takes place, what the rules are, how it's organized. These are very fundamental questions that can be applied to any mega event. And we'll answer these as we go through our course, through the different modules about the Winter Games in Sochi. So how does a city and a country get a mega event like the Olympic Games? In each case, they entail a bidding process where the host city goes to the organizing entity, in the case of the Olympics, the International Olympic Committee, and bids against other cities for the right to hold the Games. The bidding process is complex and takes many, many years to prepare. Cities need prior experience with mega events. They need to establish their ability to hold a complex event, their ability to pay for the event, and their ability to manage something in terms of security, numbers, size, number of spectators, many, many different elements. Mega events, therefore, are among some of the most competitive and most complex bidding processes you see among cities. Today we find that the bidding process is one of global affluent city-states competing against each other for the right to hold an event. It would take 10 to 15 years in many cases for a city to achieve success, if it does so at all, and in the process it may go through several rounds of competition in order to be considered for an event. There are a number of things that the Olympic Committee evaluates when a city is competing to host a Winter or Summer Olympics. These involve the capacity of the city to handle the sporting events. They have the venues to handle the event, the transportation and logistics for athletes and visitors, the environmental impact of the event as a stated focus of the IOC. It's also important to recognize the popularity among residents for the event. The IOC tends not to award events to cities where the population is not supportive of the event proceeding. And finally, security is becoming a crucial issue. It is not unusual for a major sporting event to spend more than $100,000 per athlete on security. And an Olympic event often entails a massive security process on the part of the host city. So in order to achieve an Olympic event, the city has to spend decades in preparation, in planning, in remaking itself, in rebuilding itself as a city to host the event. Even before it knows that it would get it, the city has to be ready to step in and take the event. The bidding process entails many, many players around the world, many cities actively seeking to be engaged in the process, and the end result is a highly competitive and publicized vote that leads to the eventual winner. In February 2014, Sochi, Russia will host the 22nd Olympic Winter Games. The city is the warmest host to ever hold an Olympic event, combining a sea level, fairly warm climate with a mountainous environment for snow-based events. Weather is often an element in the planning of Winter Olympic Games, and frequently cities have to plan in case they do not have sufficient snow. Vancouver in 2010 had to postpone some events because of a lack of snow, and Sochi is preparing its environment to handle additional snowmaking should it be necessary. The Sochi Games were won in a competitive process that pitted Sochi against Pyeongchang, Korea, and Salzburg, Austria. Pyeongchang, Korea went on to win the right for the next Winter Olympics in 2018, and Salzburg is continuing to show interest in a future event. The Sochi Games are the most expensive Olympic Games ever held. They're more expensive than the London Olympics, which cost $14 billion US. At $51 billion, they are the most expensive event in history for a sporting event. Join us in February for mega events inside the Winter Olympics, where we'll explore and examine some of the issues associated with the Winter Olympics and try to understand why and how these events take place, what it takes to host and manage a Winter Olympics, and what it means for the people that are participating as part of a global mega event. Thank you.